give it up for Pat one more time. You got the power, infectious. Beautiful song, beautiful song. So this morning we are continuing on with our theme for the month, which is trust. And this month we've been talking about trust. Let's begin. We've been spending time with the introduction to the Science of Mind textbook, as many of the other centers are doing. And in the introduction, there are 4 sections: the thing itself, the way it works, what it does, and how to use it. And so we are on week 3, and today we are talking about what it does. So, there we go. We believe that the universal spirit, which is God, operates through a universal mind, which is the law of God, and that we are surrounded by this creative mind, which receives the direct impress of our thought and acts upon it. We believe in our own soul, our own spirit, and our own destiny, for we understand that the life of all is God. Trust. I'd like for us today to be with trust as the grand invitation. Trust, the grand invitation. In life, we are always at choice. That's the biggie about this teaching. Remembering that we are always at choice. And so if trust is the grand invitation, then we should be inviting love in. We should be inviting joy in. We should be inviting peace in. We should be inviting forgiveness into our life. Trust, it is the grand invitation. It moves us to a state or a place where we move from living a life of selfishness to a life of selflessness. From a life of selflessness to a life of selflessness. Trust, the grand invitation. And so, this week, as I said, we're looking at what it does. And in the prior weeks, we talked about what it is, the thing itself. We said that it is our conscious mind and our unconscious mind, our conscious mind and our subjective mind. Same thing. We said it's a conscious mind, also known as the mental law. We said it is our conscious mind and it is the rich soil that we are. We said it is our conscious mind and it is the intelligence that we are. We said it's our conscious mind and our unconscious mind. In other words, it's our thoughts and what happens with our thoughts. Same thing, no difference. So, we have our conscious mind and our unconscious mind. We have our thoughts and what happens with our thoughts. We have that part of us in us that is intelligence, that creates, that is surrounded by a creative source. And that creation happens through our thoughts. Those thoughts that we believe in, that's filled with feelings or that's immersed in our feelings and our emotions. It's our thoughts and what happens with our thoughts. And so we've been talking about considering then our thoughts. Pausing to pay attention to our thoughts. Because once we have accepted our thought, it turns into a belief, and then according to the thing itself, according to the law, then the thing that we believe in, it must be created. It must be created. So our belief then, the thing that we believe in then becomes a law unto itself. The law just gives. And I'm not talking about anything outside of us. I'm talking about everything that is within us. There's a part within us that simply says yes to creating. You tell it what it is that you desire, you speak what it is you desire, and it just says yes. So, it gives, we take, it imparts, we receive, it tells, we understand, it is, we become. It gives, we take, it imparts, we receive, it tells, we understand, it is, and we become. One more time. It gives, I'm talking about the thing itself, our thoughts and what happens with our thoughts. It gives, we take, it imparts, we receive, it tells, we understand, it is, and we become. Its nature is always towards good. So whatever it is that you're desiring, know that it is always towards good. That part in you that just says yes, it's seeking to give to you, back to you, the good that there is, the rich soil, the infinite rich soil of the all good. Your thoughts and what happens with your thoughts. So, what we said then is that in understanding the unconscious mind, the subjective mind, that mental law, that part of us that is intelligent, we said we don't know how it works, but we know how to use it. Again, in that it gives, we take, it imparts, we receive, it tells, we understand, it is, and we become. When we use it. So, a quick reading from the textbook and what it does, page 42. This is the principle restated. Ernest Holmes says, the divine incarnation is inherent in our nature. We are immersed in an infinite knowingness. The question is, how much of this reality are we going to express in our own lives? The direct approach is always the best and the most effective. Insofar as any man has spoken the truth, he has proclaimed God. It matters not what his particular approach may have been. The scientist and the philosopher, the priest and the professor, the humanitarian and the empire builder, all have caught some gleam of the eternal glory, and each has spoken in his own tongue the language which is of itself universal. Let us do away with the ponderosity of thought and approach the things simply and quietly. It is the nature of the universe to give us what we are able to take. It cannot give us more. It has given all. We have not yet accepted the greater gift. He says that spiritual wisdom says that God manifests through everything and is incarnated in all men, that all is divinity, and that nature herself is the body of God. The mechanical laws of nature are set and immutable, but the spontaneous recognition of these laws gives us the power to bring them into practical use in everyday life and experience. Here we have a dual unity, law and order, spontaneous choice, volition, conscious action, and automatic reaction. The laws of the universe are to be trusted, but we must come to understand them before we can use them. And once understood, any law is available and is impersonally responsive to each and all alike. So we said that no matter who you are and what you think, the law acts alike. It is no respecter of persons. So no matter who you are and what you think, no matter what your thoughts are, the law acts the same for all people. And to the degree that we begin to embody and understand its principle in our life, to that degree will we then start to understand it. To that degree then will we start to become it. So Ernest Holmes says we should approach this understanding rationally, not analytically. We should approach it rationally, intelligently, not necessarily logically all the time. There's a difference. Ours is to understand it, and the only way to understand it is to become it. Let me start that over. Ours is to understand it, and the only way to understand it is to become it. Understanding our thoughts and what happens with our thoughts. Understand? Ours is to understand it, and the only way to understand it is to become it. That is, understanding our thoughts and what happens with our thoughts. Understand? Got it. So, in a divine givingness, this divine givingness, the divine nature of the universe, it seeks an outlet to express. That outlet is me, and that outlet is you. The only way then for the demonstration to be made is through you and through me. Its giving is without conditions. The way that the law works is without conditions. Don't get confused. I'm not talking about a person. I'm talking about a law and a principle. Last week, not only did we say don't get confused, we said don't be scared. So you have to slow down enough, get quiet and get still, and find yourself in the silence so that we can begin to look at our thoughts and be present with our thoughts. It's called trust. It's the grand invitation to begin to invite in forgiveness, to begin to invite in love, to begin to invite in joy, to begin to invite in peace into our life. It is an opportunity for us to move away from living a selfish life into a life of selflessness. But in order for that to happen, you see, each one of us have got to, within our own selves, determine the vision within us that will move us forward. In other words, we've got to find something within ourselves that will keep us practicing, that will keep us looking at our thoughts and what happens with our thoughts. You've got to decide within you that you only want peace in your life. You've got to decide if you want to be the grand example for your children. You have got to decide within you if you are desiring to give only love with the expectation of only love coming back in your relationship. You see, you've got to have a vision that is greater than anything that you have right now. Because it is what's going to move you forward. A lot of times people say, oh, it's a practice. It is a practice. And if you don't have a greater vision, you'll stop practicing. So you've got to have a greater vision that'll move you forward because you've got to practice it. So, when we look at our thoughts, let us focus on then what I am and not what I'm not. Let us focus on what I am. Let us move from focusing on I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm not deserving, beating ourselves up, living in the past. Let us move, get beyond living in our guilt and living in our shame. Because when we look at our thoughts, some of those thoughts might get translated into what I'm not. I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm not deserving. It's our guilt and our shame caught up in what we didn't do and what we didn't get right and what we don't have and what we should have, what we said, what we didn't say. Let me say that again. We get caught up in what we didn't do and what we didn't get right and what we don't have and what we should have, what we should have said and what we didn't say. And the law doesn't care. It doesn't care. It doesn't care about what happened yesterday. It's no respecter. It doesn't care about what you did yesterday. It doesn't care about what you didn't do yesterday. It doesn't care about what you did say. It doesn't care about what you didn't say. It doesn't care about what you have, and it doesn't care about what you don't have. The law just simply stands in repose, at a quiet repose, and says, yes. And it's up to us whether or not we believe that this occurs through our thoughts. The thing itself is our thoughts and what happens with our thoughts. So we've got to get beyond it. What we tend to do in our lives is, instead of getting beyond it, we try to limit the limitless. We try to limit what is limitless. And so we said that no matter who you are and what you think, the law works. When you create the mold, when you plant the seed, when you decide within yourself to get beyond your limited thinking, when you understand that you are greater than the sum total of your thoughts, you understand that no matter who you are and what you think, you understand what I'm saying? You begin to understand it is the grand invitation to begin to invite in forgiveness into your life, to begin to invite in joy in your life, to begin to invite in peace in your life, to begin to invite in understanding in your life. It's the grand invitation. No matter who you are and what you think. And so, we have to get beyond our limited thinking, get beyond time and space, thinking that we are bound some way, that this happened, that occurred, and that we can't get beyond it, where we only live in limitless possibilities, or we see no possibilities at all. I'm suggesting that we have to get beyond that in our thoughts and in our thinking. Joe Dispenza also says, along with the reading this morning, he also says that language is, that feelings is the language of the mind. Slow down, Twana. He says that thoughts is the language of the mind and feelings is the language of the body. Thoughts is the language of the mind and feelings is the language of the body. And so, many of us then live from our feelings. That is our emotions and our feelings alone. And so now our body is living us. We're living from our feelings and our emotions, and we have given up our power. Last week we said that our ability to create is our greatest power. And so when we're living from the body and not from the mind, we've given up our power. We've given up our power. So then the invitation is to look at our thoughts, to look at all of our thoughts, the good thoughts and the so-called bad thoughts. We've got to invite them all, to give them all an opportunity for us to be present with, so that we can stand in our power and to begin to create whatever it is that we are desiring. Because we are here to live. We're here to live a life fully, to be well and to be happy. We're here to live, to be free, to be happy, not sometime, but all the time. And so when we realize that we are one, no matter who we are, we begin to understand the grand invitation. We find within us that which moves us, no matter who we are and what we think, to begin to invite something new in. You can't be scared and don't get confused. I'm not talking about anything outside of you. I'm talking about your thoughts and what happens to your thoughts. I'm talking about your thoughts and your ability to go within and get still and get silent, to find yourself in the presence of the divine. And from that point, once you are beyond time and space, once you are beyond your limited way of thinking, in that moment, then you begin to invite something new in. And it's the grand invitation, because you have to understand that once you start to invite something new in, that once you start to invite forgiveness in, peace comes along with it. And once you begin to invite peace in, love comes along with it. And when love comes, joy joy must come with it. It's the grand invitation, you see. All you've got to do is be willing to invite one thing in. All you've got to be willing to do is to invite peace in, and then love takes over. All you've got to be willing to do is to invite forgiveness in, and then peace takes over. All you've got to do is be willing to invite love in, and then joy takes over. Oh, it's the grand invitation. Won't you invite it in? Won't you invite it in? Won't you be willing to live a grand life, a full life, and be happy all the time? I'm not talking about some of the time, I'm talking about all the time. Oh, it's the grand invitation. It's what it does. Try it out.